we all can't achieve that at all times. It's something that you have to be very mindful and practice in order to achieve. So we're going to just take the body slightly out of its normal tonus. So just sit comfortably and just create a little tension everywhere from the floor up. So you start with the leg, a little bit of tension in the belly, ribs, chest, shoulders, arms, even out to the fingers. In the neck, you slightly tuck your chin in and pull the throat up. Maybe even a little tension in the face, very subtle, even in the skull. And just sit and feel that for a moment. And I want you to slowly, from the floor up, release the tension. Really, really slowly let the body relax and soften. And move it up the legs to the hips, to the belly and the ribs. So the organs relax, the heart softens, chest, shoulders, arms, hands, fingers, throat, face, skull, crown. Relax the breath. Make it smoother, calmer. And just feel yourself in this state of soft tonus. Even bringing the breath into tonus. And just notice yourself in this state. And then keep your awareness on your breath. Eyes open and hands together at the heart. Bring the fingertips to the nose. Just lightly touching the tip of the nose. Pressing the palms together. Breathing into the fingers. Good, and then slowly taking the hands down in front of the knees. You're going to start to shift forward. And we're going to come to standing. Take your time, move nice and slow. So let's see if you can see me from... Okay. I arranged my camera for yin, so I didn't think about the standing poses. Okay, so starting out standing with your feet spread apart, maybe about mat distance, maybe a little less, right? And the hands just resting at your side with the palms facing forward, the shoulders relaxed. And again, let's kind of create a little tension in the body, starting from the floor up, starting from your roots. A little bit of tension in the feet, engaging the legs slightly, the hips, the trunk, the chest, shoulders, the arms, the neck, the head. Take a nice full in-breath. Let everything just release and soften as you stand here, and feel your body just using as much effort, as little bit of effort as it only needs to just stand here. Feel yourself in tonus. This way you can kind of record this information in your minds and even in general life, not just on your yoga mat. You can come back to this place and know you can be here in a more relaxed state, so you're not holding tension anywhere in your body. A lot of times, you feel yourself, maybe even just standing in line waiting for something, you feel your hip kind of jack up in your shoulder. This is a way to kind of record this, and then you can just feel this whenever you want. Come back to it, practice it, know it, feel it, be it. We're going to start with metal today, lung and large intestine. That is hooking the fingers together, the thumbs behind the back, one over the other. The index fingers touch and you fold the fingers, the rest of the fingers into the palm. Right? You're going to point the hands down, the fingers down to the mat. So as you reach back and down, you're opening up the heart and the chest and the shoulder blades together. Right? And as you start to fold hinging, let the head sink and you reach the hands up as high as you can. Right? The lung meridian starts below the center of the clavicle, the collarbone, and then it runs down to the thumb. Right, on the inseam of the arm. Keep reaching overhead. You can slightly bend the knees. Make sure your head is nice and heavy, just sinking to the floor. Breathe into your metal element. This is the element that's the exchange with the universe. Breathing in fresh air, and the large intestine letting go of what's unnecessary. Good, start to rise up. And we're going to switch the cross of the thumbs. And bring the index fingers to touch again. Roll your chest open. Push your shoulder blades together. Take a forward fold. Let the head sink. And just feel the metal element. Good, and start to rise up really slow. And as you come to standing, you're just going to swing out the arm. Let them loosen up. Let's bring the feet together. Let's come back to Virasana, to hero's pose. In Yin Yoga, we call it the saddle pose. And you're sitting back on the heels, resting on the legs, resting on the heels of the feet. And just settle here. And we're going to start to walk the hands back. Right? For earth element stretch, stomach and spleen. Walk the hands back as far as you can. Maybe use blocks, right? You're going to use the blocks if you start to feel gripping up in your lower back as you come into the back bend. And this you're going to take as far as you want without causing pain or strain in your body, especially in the joints. Hands on the blocks, hands on the floor behind you, elbows bent, forearms on the floor, forearms on the blocks, or all the way on your back, hands reaching overhead, right? Any one of those options is fine here. Just know we're going to stay for about a minute. So just choose the option where you know you can kind of hang out there and not cause pain or strain. And then keep your knees anchored here, right? The body's arching up. Working on stomach on the outside of the legs. It runs up the legs just outside the thighs, outside the calves, goes further up the body, but what we're really focusing on stretching is the lower part of the body here. And your stomach and spleen, right? And earth energy is your ability to be connected and grounded and stable. So this is a good pose to use when you feel a little ungrounded. The spleen runs up on the inside of the leg. If you open the knees a little wider, you might start to feel the spleen as well. Just breathe. Good. Start to shift out of the pose and then shift over to one side. And we're going to bring the feet together, the knees apart. We're going to work on the fire, heart, and small intestine, right? Runs kind of on the outer seam, the pinky side of the arm. That's the area we're going to be working on now. So knees apart, widening apart, soles of the feet pressing together. And you're going to just take your fingers to the arches of the feet. The elbows are going to lead here, so you're stretching the small intestine meridian here, working on the fire energy. Let the head sink. Right, there are deeper meridians within the legs. There's heart and small intestine with the hips as well. There's a secondary meridian system of lines that run deeper within the body. So we're also working on the heart in the legs and the hips here. Keep drawing the elbows forward, letting the head sink. Breathe into the back of the heart here. Right? The fire element is the element of connection and creativity. I like to think of the back of the heart here. This is the yin aspect of the heart. This is where our ideas bubble up from. Our system of communication is the yang part of the heart, the front of the heart. Good, and then start to rise up nice and slow. Come back to seated. Take the knees together, shake out the legs, and then you're going to walk the hands behind you. Just puff the belly forward for a moment. Just create a little bit of expansion here and even the organs out. Good, and then just as you come to seated, let's spread the feet out wide. Work on the wood element here. Gallbladder runs on the outside of the legs, further up the body. But where we're focusing on here is hips and legs. Liver runs on the inside of the legs, the inside of the shin bone. We're going to be stretching both areas of our wood element. And start to reach the hands up high. And then you're going to turn to face your left toe square towards the left leg. And then just fold here. You can rest the forearm on the upper thigh or the shin or inside of the leg on the mat, right? Wherever you want to go here. Then the left hand reaches ahead. This is all stretching gallbladder here. And as we kind of roll into that right side, we're working on liver as well. Breathe into the left side rib cage. Think about this left hip rolling back and open because the tendency is here is to lock that hip forward. Try to keep it open and back, externally rotated. And then think about your neck. Try not to tense it up. Maybe you let the head kind of drop, or you lift the left ear towards the upper arm bone. And this is the wood element, and it corresponds with spring. This is the perfect time to be coming into this stretch, releasing stagnation in our wood elements. Good, and then switch. We'll come to seated, rise up, turn towards the right toes, lean over to the left side, reach overhead. You can rest the forearm on the thigh or shin or inside of the leg. Again, roll your right hip open, expand the right side body, settle there. And then let's just start to rise up to seated. The hands behind you, puff the rib cage forward, just kind of even the body out for a moment. Breathe into the belly. We're going to bring the feet together and curl the toes up. Let's engage the legs. Just take yourself slightly outside of tonus here. All right, we're going to reach up and then out over the legs and find a grasp and let the head sink. You can bend the knees slightly if you want. We're working on our water element here, bladder. And it's all up the back and down the legs, the hamstring area, all the way down to the toes. And you're pulling yourself closer to your legs. And you're breathing into the water element. Just release any stagnation you might feel there. The water element is related to fears. So there might be plenty of stagnation in this element right now. Just related to everything that's going on in the world. Try to let that go. Breathe into the kidney area here, the back of the rib cage, the base of the lungs, the lower lobes of the lungs. Another minute here, see if you can go a little bit deeper. Just guide yourself slightly out of your comfort place. Let go of the struggle. Okay, let's just start to rise up to seated and shake out the legs. We're going to use our props for the next pose. So we're going to be using either a bolster or a rolled up blanket and a block or a towel, right? So if you don't have blocks, you don't have a bolster, you're just going to fold a couple of towels and stack them to about bolster height. Or maybe make a little tight roll with a blanket instead of a bolster. That would work as well. And you're only going to use the block if you have a bolster. Okay, or you have your prop as high up as a bolster, because it might strain your neck if you're using the block with a different prop. So it would look like this. The bolster right across, the block behind it. And as you come to lie on your back, the back of the head rests on the block. Now, if you're using the different prop, you're using your rolled up towel or blanket and another folded towel or blanket to rest the head on. Right? And you would use this instead of the bolster if you were feeling uncomfortable, like you're going too far, if you're using bolster and block. So if you have tightness in your chest and in your lower back, you might prefer to use the rolled up blanket and towel or whatever other props you have. As you come to sit in front of the bolster, widen your feet out and sit nice and tall. Let the feet externally rotate so the legs are relaxed comfortably. And you want to pull the support really close to you. There's no gaps between the support and your body. And you keep pulling it towards you as you lower down on it. It's in the lumbar curve, maybe higher up, right? Just below the shoulder blades as well, right? And then there's this space, this gap between the block or your other prop where your shoulder blades just kind of sink towards the floor. So the heart is expanded and open, right? And just make sure your head is rested comfortably. If your chin is really tucked in and you're feeling your throat tense up, then the block is too much, right? Then you would just take a folded towel or something else. I like my head all the way on the floor here. Everybody's comfort level is different. And here we're just going to relax. We're going to take the hands with the fingers spread wide over the rib cage so we can just feel the lungs breathe and connect to that metal element. And the eyes closed. Wiggle your body. Let go of any efforting or struggling. If you feel yourself tensing up too much, you may want to change your props. Right, the bolster might be enough or too much, or your towel might be rolled up too high. So just kind of see how you feel with that. And just come to rest. Settle, eyes closed. Awareness on the lungs breathing into the hands. Awareness of the warmth of the hands on the body. The thoughts fading into the distance. And again, just connecting to the middle element. The lungs are part of the yang, part of the metal element. This is our connection with others, connection with the universe. When this element is out of balance, it creates grief. So So grief is the emotion of the metal element. Or it may, if it's out of balance, it may be that you're not capable of grieving. You're incapable of that emotion of connection. So connect with what you're feeling here. Notice if there's tightness in the lungs or in the breaths. Without judgment, just notice. And breathe out anything unnecessary. We're going to start to work our way out of the pose. Just take the hands down to the floor or to the bolster. And just lift the head away from the block. Let's come up to seated. And as you sit, just shake the legs out. Good. Let's come to work. Do some nice deep work on our hips today. Just first coming to seated with the feet on the floor and your heels, walk them nice and close to you. You're going to drop your knees to the right. And then you're going to pull your left foot back. You're going to spiral the legs out. Now just kind of arrange yourself comfortably on this right hip. So the weight is rested mostly grounded in that right hip. Right. We're going to take the hands, the left hand, and curl it over the left hip bone. And we're going to push into the floor. We're going to sit nice and tall, lengthen out. So this right hand pushes into the mat. You feel your spine lengthening upward. Right. And now when you exhale, roll that left hip in gently towards your right inner thigh. Let's release the sacrum. You're internally rotating this left hip nice and deeply, and at the same time, you're pressing the right hand gently into the floor, so you're lengthening up as you twist. You can look past the right shoulder here. Good, then take a little counter twist over to the other side. So start to turn the hips forward, then the right hand to the left knee, the left hand behind you. Push the hand into the knee and roll your left hip open and out, just as best as you can. Good, and we're going to go to the other side. So take the left hand back onto the right knee, take another twist over to the right, and we're going to deepen this pose. I'm going to show you what that looks like from behind. We're going to deepen this pose, walk the hands further back. So place the left hand first on the outer left thigh. You're leaning your chest forward. You might need to kind of play with the legs, maybe open them out more or bring them closer, right? You just want to have this nice loosening up in your hips. This pose is happening in the hips, the left hip rolling in. Then we're going to walk back and down so the forearm, the right forearm is on the mat, or use your prop. You can use a block or a bolster. This right here can just be your pose with the head sinking. Make sure you're not locking this right shoulder up. That will be the tendency here. And again, keep the hips nice and loose and the left hip curling into the right thigh. You're going to feel that most likely in your lower back and sacrum area. If the hips are really tight, you're going to feel it more there. Now, if you're on the floor and this is okay for you and you want to go deeper, you bring the left forearm down as well, right? Or you could bring yourself onto your chest on your bolster. So just play with it. You're going to hang out here for a bit. So find your comfort zone. There's a little bit yin, a little bit yang, a little bit restorative, a little bit deep tissue work. So just feel it out. Feel what feels right for you. Then when you find a comfortable place, then you let go of the struggle in your body. We're working on the wood element now, gallbladder. There's lots of other things happening too, but mostly if you're feeling this all along the left side body, it's the gallbladder, the wood element. Okay, this element is connected to our ability to plan things and to bring plans into fruition. So people that have stagnation in their wood element or in distortion in the wood element would be something like OCD, where everything has to be perfect, and or not enough planning. You're just the kind of person who is a procrastinator. So this happens in our wood element. And the emotion of wood is anger. So this is a nice pose to come to stretch the gallbladder area when you're feeling angry. You need to let go of anger. Good, then start to rise up. Press yourself away from the floor. Take a little counter twist to the other side. Just twisting towards the left for a moment. Right now, as you come to seated, we're going to tighten the pose up a little bit. You're going to slide your left knee in a bit and the right knee out. So the hips are a little more squared, and you can kind of push yourself up away from the floor. Push your right hip out. Just feel yourself kind of a little more centered that way. If this is uncomfortable, and it might be because we've been here for a while as well, just straighten the left leg. We'll do the pose that way instead. And the right foot is at the inner thigh. I never want you to struggle or be in pain here, so just be mindful, right? So you're here or you're here. And you raise up the arms so that you lengthen upward first, and you extend forward and out over the legs. Then lower down. You can sink the head, or you can rest it on a support. Let the body loosen up here. Let your hips kind of square the best that they can. And let them be loose. Breathe through the hips. Make the breath smoother. Bring the body into that tonus state that we talked about, right? Just relax it as much as you can and just use as much muscular effort, only as much as you need. Good, we're gonna start to come up to seated. Take a prop off to the side and slide your left foot forward. Bring your right foot on the mat and just arrange yourself comfortably with your heels walking nice and close to you. Sit tall. Drop your knees to the other side, to the left. Spiral your legs out comfortably. And then settle yourself and arrange yourself so you can kind of push that left hip back and just feel the weight of the body mostly resting in that left hip, right? The legs, you can bring your knee closer or push it out. Now, we just want to make sure you can curl that right hip in towards your left thigh. There's this nice soft rotation inward of the right hip. The left hand behind you, anchor down like this second spine, lifting you up nice and tall. And keep curling your hip in. You should feel that nice and deep in the hips. Those of you that have tightness in your lower back hip area, you might feel it more there or maybe the outer leg. But for most of us, we're just going to start to feel this deep inside the hips, the sacrum area, the right hip extensor area, and thigh. Maybe look past the left shoulder if you want. Good, then we're going to start to square forward, take a little counter twist to the right, the left hand on the right thigh or knee, push it into the leg, and take a twist to the right. Good, now with our hips nice and prepared, we're going to go all the way into the fold, walking the hands behind you. And again, I'm going to show you what that looks like from behind. Okay, and you're going to walk that left far back as you can. See, I'm going to shift my right shoulder forward like I'm pointing my chest towards the floor. And then if you can, the forearm on the mat, maybe walking it back even further, creating more intensity here. When I say intensity, I don't mean pain or stress. Or maybe using your support, right? Maybe both forearms down, maybe all the way on the chest and forehead. You feel the pose out and see what works for you. You find this kind of Goldilocks place. Not too big, not too small, just right for you. Just slightly outside of the threshold. And then let the breath rise up and meet whatever is tensing away, whatever's efforting. And slow the breath down. Breathe into your wood element. And let's start to release the pose. Just lift the head and walk the hands back towards you and just untangle yourself. And as you sit facing forward, you either tighten this pose up, bring your right foot closer to you with the toes pointing back and the sole of the foot at the inner thigh and the left hip pushing out. But if your joints have had enough here, you're just going to keep the right leg straight. I'm going to bring the sole of the foot to the inner thigh and do the pose that way instead. Lengthen up, reach back a bit, just puff the organs open for a moment, and then start to fold out and forward. And bring yourself to your edge. Guide your way there gently. And you can rest the head or let it sink. You can use a prop if you want. Notice what comes out of tonus. What do you need to do to bring everything in tonus? What needs to relax? What needs to soften? Let go of judgment and fear. Breathe into whatever arises. Now start to release. Lift the head. Walk your way back and up out of the pose. And just straighten out the legs and shake them. And let's work on our shoulders. So we're going to come onto the belly. Have your block ready in case you want it here or you might need it. You're up on your elbows. Wiggle everything out. Let it soften. Put your toes behind you. You're going to turn left forearm in, right over left. Tie the arms up in a knot. Really tight. Walk your fingers away from one another. You feel that nice and deep in the back of the shoulders. Or if the front of the shoulders are tight, you're going to feel it more in the shoulder seams. If it's painful, you're going to transition this into a thread the needle. That means you're going to slide the right hand forward, walk the left hand further away, and rest the ear on the block. Right? And then just kind of settle there. You should feel that stretch in the back of the left shoulder, maybe the top of the left shoulder instead. If you want to, you can rest the forehead on the block if your arms are tied up in the knot, or you can let the chin rest or the cheek rest on the upper arm. Right? Notice how your body is completely out of tonus, where it's out of tonus. Usually the shoulders and hips here. Let it go, let everything soften and breathe into the back of the heart. Wiggle the hips, don't clench your glutes up. Let your body accept the pose and let all the energy and awareness just come to the shoulders. I'm going to start to come out of the pose, lift the head, and slide the arms back into Sphinx position on the elbows. And let's switch right and then left over right. Tie it in a knot. Shoulders are funny, so it might feel very different on this side. And if it's too much for you, you just transition this to thread the needle position, left hand forward, and then walk the right hand further away till you create extension and stretch in your right shoulder, and then rest the ear on the block. Right, if you have both arms tied up, you might rest the chin or the cheek on the upper arm, or you can rest the forehead on the block. Let your hips, loosen everything up, let your body settle softly. Let go of all the efforting and breathe through your shoulders. And we'll start to rise up, lift the head, side the arms apart. Let's take a child's pose. Sink back onto the heels, rest the forehead, relax the shoulders and the hips, rest the belly. And let's come up to seated. Shift forward to hands and knees. And then let's sit back for a moment. We're going to come to twist lying on the back. So lower onto the back. And let's hug the knees in tightly. And just rock. Just loosen up the back. Rock side to side. And settle. And bring the arms down to your side. Let's draw little circles on the ceiling with the knees. And go the other way. And draw the knees close to the chest. And both hands grasp the right knee. Let the left leg lengthen onto the mat. Pull the right knee closer. Extend the right hand out to the side. Let the left knee guide the right knee to the left as you turn to look at the right hand. And the left knee, the left hand, you push the knee a bit closer to the floor to deepen the twist. Try to keep both shoulders on the mat. Maybe the right shoulder might rise up a bit. That's okay. And now just let everything unravel and loosen. Let the body completely unwind. Good. Release the twist, roll onto your back and hug your knees and squeeze them close. Release the right leg onto the floor. Keep holding the left knee in and take the left palm out to the side. Draw the knee to the right, turn to look at the left hand. Lift the knee closer to the floor, deepen the twist, and let everything soften, unravel, and loosen. good. Roll to the back. And grab the knees, give them a squeeze. And rock. And we'll come into Shavasana. So you're just going to rise up, lift your head, curl yourself in a ball. And come up to seated. And we'll use our props. So you're going to grab your bolster to rest the legs. You're going to grab your towel or blanket to rest the head. And you're going to cover yourself with your blanket. Maybe cover the eyes with an eye bag or a scarf just to shut out the light from the room. Right, and as you come to lie, bring the pillow nice and close to you so the heels are resting on the floor. And when you bring the head down on the support, just tuck everything nice and securely into the curves of the neck and the skull. So everything's really supported. And you're going to bring the hands down to your side. Let the palms face up and close the eyes. Wiggle around a bit more. Get settled. And you're just going to start to create that little bit of tension everywhere in the body. Start with the toes. Tense up the feet slightly, the lower legs, the knees, the thighs, the hips, the torso. Even maybe thinking about trying to tense the organs up slightly. The lungs and the ribs, all the organs in the belly. Tighten the chest slightly and the shoulders, the arms, hands, fingers slightly curling, tucking the chin and engaging a bit in the neck and the face, all the way to the skull. And even tensing your breath up a little bit, making a little bit tighter and faster. Feel yourself in this state for a moment. Now loosen the tension up, starting from the toes. Relax the feet, the lower legs, the knees, the thighs, the hips, the belly, the organs, the back, the ribs, the lungs, the chest, the heart, the shoulders, arms, hands, fingers, throat, face, skull, scalp. And just feel yourself in this state. And now let your breath come to a softer state. With the eyes closed, the gaze turned down towards the heart. The thoughts just fading into the distance, into the back somewhere. The mind gets quiet and calm. Let everything sink. Feel the body sinking into the floor. Feel the lightness of the belly and the ribs as they rise and fall with your breath. Relax the face. Let go of any remaining tension in your face that's lingering. The hinges of the jaw softening and the jaw getting heavy. The tongue dropping into the floor of the mouth. The eyeballs receding into the sockets. Skin of the face softening. And relax your throat. Let the chest soften, let the heart soften. And bring your awareness to the heart for a moment. Just notice any tension you're feeling deep within the heart or just outside of the heart, the walls of the heart. And just let everything become light and open. Relax the shoulders, arms, hands, fingers. The spine unravel. Relax the ribs and the belly. And just sense your hips. Guide the awareness deep within the hips and just let everything unravel. Relax the legs, the thighs and knees, shins, feet, toes. And the physical body rest in stillness. Then bring your awareness to the energetic body vibrating within the physical body. And notice any darkness or shadows in the energetic body. Anything that needs release. And let the breath just allow everything to just settle and open as if you were spreading light with the breath, just spreading light all the way through and throughout the energetic body. And connect to the feeling of the energetic body just vibrating within the physical body. And just remaining here in your calm, relaxed, sattvic state. Relaxing a little bit more with each breath until you hear me speak again. just gently beginning to awaken. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Nod the head. When you're ready, hugging the knees into the chest, just giving them a squeeze. And rolling over onto your right side. Taking a moment there in the fetal position. Take your time, work your way up to seated, move nice and slow. And bringing the hands together. Thank you all for coming to share your practice with me today. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good Friday.
Are we on for tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'll put
Have a good Friday. Have a good weekend.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.